So we're going to switch it up and do the in-class examples as your video notes. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to cross this out, and I'm going to ask you to replace it with x plus 2y equals -8. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is, hey, I'm looking for the x-intercept, which means I'm looking for the x value, but I know that my y value is 0. That means that I'm going to be solving for x, but I know that my y is 0, so I get x plus 2 times 0 equals -8. I get x plus 0 equals -8, so x equals -8. Hey, there's my x-intercept, and that happens to be that point right there. Now my y-intercept, I know I'm looking for my y value, but I know that my x value is 0. That means that this 0 is replaced, and I'm solving for y. So 2y equals -8. I'm dividing by 2 on both sides. I get y equals -4, so I know my y-intercept is right here on the graph. You've got 2 points. You should use a straight edge to draw a line that goes from edge to edge and arrows on the end. Okay, so there's my line. And the next thing that I'm going to ask you to do is, hey, x plus 2y equals -8 is the standard form of this line, but I actually want to rewrite it so that it's in slope-intercept form. Now remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, which means I want the y all by itself, and right now it's not. So the first thing that I'm going to have to do is I'm going to move the x by subtracting it on both sides. Now I get 2y equals -8 minus x. So now I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. So now watch very carefully. I get y equals -8 minus x over 2. But I'm actually going to split this up into y equals -8 divided by 2 and minus x divided by 2. So what happens is that I'm going to simplify. -8 divided by 2 is -4, and this I can't really simplify, so it's -4 minus 1/2 x. If I wanted to rewrite that, I could rewrite that as y equals -1/2 x minus 4. So to be a little bit more specific, what happened was I'm taking this -8 and I'm dividing it by 2 to get -4. And then I'm taking this portion, -x divided by 2, and I get -1/2 x because -1 divided by 2 is -1/2. Your final answer could be this right here, or it could be this right there. So again, on number 2, you're going to have to cross that out and replace it with 3x minus 2y equals 12. So if I'm looking for the x-intercept, you know that the x value is what I'm looking for, but I know that the y is 0. And for the y-intercept, you know that your y value is missing, but you know that your x value is 0. I want you to go ahead and pause and see if you can figure out how to find the x and the y-intercepts. So hopefully you got 4, 0 for x-intercept, and you got 0, -6 for your y-intercept. You've got 2 points. Plot them, make a line. And so the next thing that I'm going to ask you to try is to make your standard form, to change it from standard form to slope-intercept form, which means you want the y all by itself. Go ahead and try it, pause it, and then you can see what I do. So again, here, when you divide it by -2, I did this 12 divided by -2, which got me -6. And this happens to be a negative divided by a negative, so that becomes positive. And 3 over 2 can't be simplified, so I just kept it as 3/2 and then attached the x. I could have rewritten it as y equals 3/2 x minus 6, or you could have kept it as this. Either one would have been correct. So the third one, you're going to, again, cancel or cross that out, and you're going to replace it with 2x plus 3y equals 3. I'm just going to have you pause and figure out how you can do this problem, and then you can play it again, and I will walk it step by step without any verbal cues. So it says, Evan is running for class president and has chosen Julie to be his campaign manager. After having raised a whopping $10, Julie decides to make buttons with Evan's name on them. Colored buttons cost 50 cents, while black and white buttons cost 25 cents. Write an equation that represents how many colored and black and white buttons Julie can buy. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label what my X is and what my Y is. In this case, we're comparing colored buttons to black and white. Colored buttons cost 50 cents. And black and white buttons cost 25 cents. So here's my equation that I'm going to write. 0.50x plus 0.25y equals, and Julie has a total of $10 that she can spend. This is my equation in standard form. Now, you could have also said that X equals black and white buttons and Y equals colored buttons. If you said that, that means that it would be 0.25X because each black and white button costs 25 cents plus 0.5Y because all the color buttons cost 50 cents, and that would have been your equation. Either way, if you label what your X and Y are, then either one would have been correct depending on what your X and what your Y was. So same thing here, Mrs. Hong has $100 to spend on music. She can buy a CD for $15 or she can download an album from iTunes for $10. Write an equation that represents how many CDs and downloaded albums Mrs. Hong can buy. Well, I'm definitely going to mark X is my CDs, my Y is my iTunes. So if I label it like that, it's $15 per CD and $10 per iTunes album, and I have a total of $100. This would be my standard form equation. Or if you decide to make X be your iTunes and your Y be your CDs, I have 10X plus 15Y equals 100. It totally depends on what your X and what your Y is going to represent.